Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halib.
I'm Sabib.
And I'm Lindz.
And this is Cinema Worms Podcast.
In 2002 Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire did the tray catch scene without any special effects. It took him 156 attempts.
No way!
Today we're going to be talking about Presence, which is a film that we saw separately. We don't always do that, and we haven't talked about this beforehand, so we're going to be revealing our true thoughts and feelings today for the first time. This is going to be exciting. Presence is a supernatural thriller drama directed by Steven Soderbergh and written by David Cope. It stars Lucy Liu, who I haven't seen for a while, which is fantastic. She's always a delight. And Chris Sullivan, who is also fantastic. Presence was premiered at the Sundance Film Festival last year. So the entire film is told from the point of view of the Presence, capital P, who is, I'd like to specify here, not a ghost, but a poltergeist. The distinction being that it can move things around, it can knock stuff off of shelves, which is not something typically a ghost can do, but a poltergeist can.
So we're being scientific.
We're being extremely scientific about the Presence. After the Payne family move into the house where the Presence lives, we get to know corporate shark mother Rebecca, exhausted father Chris, champion swimmer son Tyler, and grieving daughter Chloe, whose best friend Nadia has just died. Now, the move to this house has been prompted by Rebecca's desire to have Tyler in the best possible school, so that he can maintain the top of the list in all of his heats for swimming. And Chloe, despite being the child here who clearly needs parental attention and affection during this mourning period, is largely ignored by her mother, who very, very evidently prefers her son. So the film was shot in a series of long takes, and this perspective allows the Presence to really get close to characters at various times in various scenes, although whether or not they sense it depends pretty much on the character and the mood of the character at the time. Chloe seems the most sensitive to that, and quite early on she becomes convinced that the Presence is actually her dead friend Nadia.
So I found this film really interesting. Like, I haven't seen anything like it. I mean, visually, right? It has I think it's a fisheye lens, or however they're sort of doing that curvature in the cinematography, and creating this sense of looking through an eye, and it's disorienting and it's intimate and it's strange. So moving through the house as the poltergeist and seeing things in this disorienting way was really fascinating. And also, it's a different take on a ghost story. You're seeing it from the perspective of the haunting Presence. And also, it's a film that does a lot of different things. And I think a lot of it works, and also some of it is potentially fracturing of the focus of the film. So you're looking at grief, you're looking at family dynamics, you're looking at another character who's friends with the children, who kind of comes in and like disturbs their world and kind of adds this element of danger. And my favorite aspect of the film really is the family dynamics. Like, that's where a lot of the emotional weight is, a lot of the tension, and a lot of the sort of fear too, the underlying fractures in the family.
So it's interesting that you say that. So from the trailer that I had seen, I actually expected this film to be much scarier than it was. I thought it was the kind of film that might rely on jump scares and various things to kind of get you in a particular mood and state. But actually, you're right. It was so much more complex than just a scary film. It scared me in some other ways that were not kind of supernatural. And as you say, each of the characters is going through their own problems. What I really liked about this film is that it doesn't spoon feed you those issues. You get to see the characters having conversations with each other, but you sometimes only see part of it, or you hear part of it. You hear them briefly on the phone in a one-sided conversation, or maybe overhear one of them talking to themselves as they walk from room to room. Some of these things are not part of the overall plot, and they don't get wrapped up neatly at the end, which makes the characters' lives feel really real and organic, and it does make you feel like you as the Presence are intruding on these moments. So you're not always there for it, but it's always happening. These people are real, their lives are being lived around you. I have to say, so unusually, I will fully admit this. As you know, I normally, when I'm watching any kind of film where there's any kind of twist or mystery to it, I almost immediately know exactly what it is and who. And I had my suspicions about who or what the presence was, and I was wrong. And I have to say that almost never happens. It makes me like the film even more because of the fact that I really thought I had clocked it about halfway through. And I thought I understood exactly what was going on, and I did not. And that was a really nice kind of reveal for me of turning the things that I had previously thought on their head a little bit.
I think I didn't understand that there was a particular line that a clairvoyant comes in at one point into the house to assess things and explains that these presences can live outside of time. And that was kind of critical to understand because I didn't realize that like it really could be anyone who is this presence because they live outside of time.
Or anything.
Or anything, yeah, whatever. Yeah, so it is. So I didn't like even understand what happened at the end really until we talked about it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see people's thoughts. So please let us know if anyone saw this film and you see our posts on social media. Like, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely.
The next film we're discussing is Companion, which is written and directed by Drew Hancock, and it's his directorial debut. So this is a sort of horror comedy starring Jack Quaid as Josh, playing a character sort of adjacent to his character in The Boys, although I found him more menacing in this film, and Sophie Thatcher as Iris, his girlfriend. And you may know Sophie Thatcher from, I believe she might be in Yellow Jackets, but most recently in Heretic, the
film.
horror film with Hugh Grant. That's great. We love that. So the beginning of the film starts with a meet cute. So we have the beautiful, perfect Iris meeting Josh in the grocery store over some falling oranges. And there's an immediate spark, and you get the sense that they've fallen in love. And the next scene is them, presumably together as a couple, driving into the middle of the woods to stay at a friend's house for a fun weekend. And they arrive and things are just odd, right? Iris is just totally in love with Josh, obsessed with him, and really excited to meet his friends, but also anxious because she has this feeling that they don't like her. And they are standoffish, particularly there are several friends. There's Kat, played by Megan Suri. There's Eli, played by Harvey Gulen, who is in What We Do in the Shadows. And there's the boyfriend of Eli, who's this like impossibly handsome guy. And then Sergei, who is Kat's very Russian 40-something boyfriend, who's very out of place in these like group of 20-somethings. So they all think that Iris is just like odd, and they kind of condescend to her. Then the Russian Sergei, who is potentially involved in sketchy business practices or a mobster of some kind, comes on to Iris and becomes creepy. And then that's when things really kick off, both violently and comically.
So I thought this film, and we're obviously going to try not to spoiler it for you, it was a great premise. I don't think the execution really worked for me past a certain point. So I had only seen one trailer, and I hadn't seen the movie poster at all, but I still knew from the very, very first lines in the supermarket scene exactly what it was about and what was going to happen. And from then on, I guessed every single plot point and every single reveal, apart from a major motivator for a certain event in the film, which could not have been predicted in advance. I don't always mind being able to work out things in advance. It's actually kind of fun, as long as the film is entertaining and takes me on a fun journey. And while I did like some of the characters, I felt that it meandered a bit at times. It didn't fully go where I was hoping it would go. And there are other films that I'm sort of comparing it to, which again, if I gave it away, would give away some spoilers. And it also made me think, so of course I can't quite talk yet about something that I've been doing in my writing career, but there's some stuff happening behind the scenes. I've been working with a production company, and I have kind of a similar film TV project going on. And so it kind of, it was unfortunate that I work in this specific genre, which is real specific, and clocked it immediately. But it was really still fun to see, how does that genre play out on screen? What are the things you can do to kind of highlight certain things or provide red herrings, or, how can you lead the reader or the audience member down the garden path? How far do you want to take them? When are you going to reveal certain things? And I thought that was interesting as well. And yeah, Jack Quaid. It's interesting that you say his character here was more menacing than the one in The Boys. His Boys character has a hell of a body count. Remember, he blew up a guy.
But it's all,
from the butt.
Sort of.
It's from the butt, Zebib.
Sort of just part of the game.
Is it? Oh, geez. I don't know if you're remembering
I
don't know if you're remembering The Boys right, but okay.
But like, his character is supposed to have a good heart in The Boys, supposedly, and it's also just even more absurd than this movie. But here, without spoiling it, he's not a good guy. So that's an interesting position for him a character for him to play. So,
well, I agree. He's not a good guy, but he plays a guy who is not a good guy, but thinks he's a good guy. Is utterly convinced of his own niceness. Which,
so most men?
Yeah, which is, one of the most horrible kind of things to deal with. And again, if we think about the comparison to Heretic a little bit, Hugh Grant's character there, of course, it's a very, very different film from this, and it's a million miles away, but Hugh Grant's character purports to be kind of a nice guy, just seeking the truth, just, kind of doing his thing. Hugh Grant is known for playing these kind of foppish, nice characters. And it's sort of a similar niche that Jack Quaid has occupied over the last few years. And it's really interesting to see him play some characters who are much more devious than that.
Yeah, which also Hugh Grant was doing.
Yes, and Heretic as well.
Yeah, you see this devious edge, and it's fun. Mm-hmm. And I would argue that the film is really fun. I actually even if I had issues with some of, really it's about plotting and depth at certain points. The movie's fun. It's it's fun to look at. It's fun to watch. It hits a lot of beats and twists and turns and it just moves at a quick pace. I think sometimes too quick, but it's quite fun to watch. So I think you're gonna have a fun night out if you go watch it. Yeah.
It's buy your popcorn, take your snacks, go with your friends. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it has some nice commentary on sort of ironic dehumanization of people, particularly women, how we can use each other and how technology can be utilized for the worst of human selfishness. And Harvey, and I don't know how to say his name, Gillen, is so funny. They gave him a lot of funny lines. And yeah, there's just a nice underlying violence in this film. Yeah. And Sophie Thatcher is excellent.
Can we just also have a moment for Lucas Gage as well? Because he was just a joy. I've liked him in a lot of other things as well, but yeah.
He's been in horror things and White Lotus Season 1, etc. Yeah. So yeah, this is a fun film. Let us know what you think.